radio listeners, you are listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I'm Kenny Horn.
And I'm Kyle Pepitone, and you're now tuned in to the Morning Buzz.
Well, kinda.
Every Friday during the summer, we're going to give you a compilation show of the Morning Buzz over the course of the last week.
We have it all, everything from the pressing news stories all the way to the weird and funny news that will be sure to give you a good laugh.
We will even replay interviews that aired, so you have another chance to listen in.
We'll even be posting this show to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
So go ahead and treat yourself. Sit back, relax, and grab that extra donut, and listen to the best of the Morning Buzz.
Donuts.
So, TikTok is launching this new pilot program, TikTok Resume, on Wednesday, hoping to connect Gen Z to some job openings. So there's a lot of talk about this, whether or not TikTok is going to become the new LinkedIn, and I think this is a super fascinating story, especially now applications are only being accepted until July 31st, which is also kind of interesting too. And I'm a little I have so many feelings about this. And we actually brought in a special guest today, Jeff Palos, who is a career advisor at MSU, to talk a little bit more about this whole story and what's going on. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing well. Good morning, everyone. I think this is, first off, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on the radio, and it's awesome hearing from you all. I would love to get your thoughts on this too, aside from me just chatting about it. But yeah, I think it's a game changer for sure. So this is interesting. But
yeah, no, for sure. So Jeff, tell me, what do you think of TikTok wanting to become the new, quote unquote, new LinkedIn?
I think, well, real quick, I kind of want to pose this to everyone or to you, Sabrina. Can you explain in your own words what is a TikTok? Because I do know there's some people on the radio wavelengths, if you will, that are currently listening who have no idea what TikTok is, and just know that it's like that crazy app that kids make videos these days.
No, that's such a great point, Jeff. TikTok for me is a video platform where you make short, less than 60-second long videos. Typically, they're used for more comedic relief, and anyone can make a TikTok, anyone can post it, and it could go viral real quick. Tons of Generation Z are using TikTok right now. Personally, I use TikTok. It's a lot of fun. It's free and easy entertainment for myself.
Right.
But yeah, that's what it is to me. So what do you think of TikTok wanting to become the new LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a discussion after the show, everyone, to demonstrate what TikTok is about. I'm a little surprised myself. No, I think it's interesting, right? And just keep in mind, and you mentioned this, Sabrina, it's a pilot program, so they're really have the lens hyper focused here to see if this is going to work, what is going to work. I think it's interesting in the sense of employers and TikTok specifically is going to where the traffic is, right? Think of it that way. We all just kind of said, minus you both that are not on TikTok, but majority of your generation will say Gen Z, which, by the way, is anyone born between 97 and 2012 is on TikTok. So why not go to where everyone is? And the article I shared with you all cites that only 19% of Gen Z is on, or 19% of LinkedIn users, let's say it that way, are Gen Z. So It's kind of a little bit of a shot and jab at LinkedIn to step up their game, that if they're going to try and break into the Gen Z market, how are they going to do that, right? So I think it's really interesting to see where this goes, where the career services landscape and world and coaches are following this closely. There are some big companies on there, Target, Shopify, I think WWE's on there, Chipotle is recruiting on there. So I think, it's kind of like a David and Goliath little moment here, and we'll see how it plays out. But LinkedIn's been around a lot longer too, so that doesn't really help TikTok's case. But I'm interested to see the level of engagement and kind of success that comes from this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting too, because I'm on TikTok, but I'm also on LinkedIn. And I know a lot of students on the station who are also on LinkedIn. So it's really interesting to see who's on it and who's not.
For
Yep.
sure. Yeah, go
I
for it.
was gonna ask, are there any benefits of receiving a resume via TikTok? Do you see any or?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, right, it takes out the whole idea of what we all think of as a resume, on paper or sending it somewhere on paper digitally. And now TikTok is pushing the idea that you're going to be sending a digital video of your resume speaking about yourself. So I think it's interesting. It's hard to judge someone off a video. A lot of these you have one take. You can't really edit the video. I mean, you can do it maybe a few times. Some of them I think have parameters set up that it's a one shot, one deal. And not everyone is comfortable with speaking in a video or in that kind of platform and setting too. So I think what it comes down to, and I'll get into this in a little bit with some other points I want to bring up, is ultimately being comfortable talking about yourself, no matter if it's a video or even interview, right? Even if it's in person, which those are more likely to be hopefully happening in the future versus Zoom, appointments or Zoom interviews, I should say. You have to be comfortable talking about yourself and kind of answering that question and really being confident to talk about yourself too. So are there benefits? There could be. I think it's easier. It makes it mainstream, right? You're just seeing the person right there. But on the flip side, we all judge people too, right? So maybe that little kind of switch in our brain goes off, and we're seeing someone doing a video, and we don't maybe take them as serious either. So,
Yeah, no,
it's a good question.
I think it's very interesting too, because I think when I think of the benefits of this, I definitely go back to, you know, like just like when you apply to colleges, how everything is just, numbers and facts and everything's on paper and they don't really get to know you. For me, I feel like a benefit of this is they will actually kind of get to like know who you really are. And just I feel like social skills, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's something that when people interview applicants, that's something they look into, and just if you're able to communicate with people. And when I read about this, I was like, like this is definitely something that is beneficial with TikTok, even though you don't get the full story, you don't get all the numbers and facts, but you are able to see how they would react in a social situation, sort of like communicate with others.
Yeah, that's a great point. And keep in mind too, this isn't groundbreaking kind of news, right? In a way, this has been happening in your landscape for anyone that wants to go onto media or radio. I think Sirius XM, their internship kind of application requires you to do a video interview, right? So similar kind of concepts what you're describing, Sabrina, that it's an opportunity to maybe make your resume alive, right? To kind of sell yourself and your personality, which is really hard to do on something that you're just looking at on a piece of paper. So, these trends are happening, whether it's, TikTok's driving the vehicle in the driver's seat right now for this conversation, but, certain media opportunities, NBC, they require those video, kind of interviews where you have to, they're not just judging, right, your question or the answer that you're, providing, but they want to see, your kind of personality and how alive you come, and why you are the best person for this position.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, for you, like, how do you think this will affect students going, applying for jobs, and like with your job in career services, like, how will this impact you in your future advising?
Yeah, this is, I think the article and what TikTok did is a reminder to us all in the career services landscape, and again, career coaching landscape too, that social media is such a driving force with, changing how kind of things are done, and how the job application process works, and really, they're in the driver's seats. We're here to facilitate, maybe for the metaphor, we're in the back seat or, strapped to the roof. I don't know. But it's really interesting. So I think the uphill challenge that we'll have in possibly career services is it's important to, and I was actually I want to shout out one of my colleagues, Annie, who brought this point up because I was talking to her offline about it, is I think it's important to make the connection that, connecting it to interpersonal skills, right? So although you're tech savvy, it still comes down to how can we practice those interpersonal skills and connect it to interviewing, right? And being comfortable talking about yourself in front of a camera, maybe, maybe we do a workshop talking about video interviewing strictly, and in that regard. So, it's great that we could showcase your tech savvy on a piece of paper, but it's getting your foot in the door. You still, when you boil it down and remove social media, you got to know how to communicate to people, and that no matter what industry you go into, you're going to be working on teams, you're going to be, chatting and emailing or, direct messaging with folks. So, that kind of foundation is still there in my opinion. So I think I would kind of attack it as like, how are we going to, practice your interpersonal skills and practice, doing a TikTok. I don't know. I have no idea, but that's kind of where, I'm kind of connecting the examples there.
So, I believe that then that's the bigger role that TikTok is playing, right? Like it's teaching, I guess not only Gen Z, but those that are applying via TikTok resume, how to develop their interpersonal roles or how to express themselves in a way that, you know, a bigger community sees them and is like, okay, they're hired. But now, how are you planning to work with the new students coming into MSU who are very tech savvy, like you were saying?
Yeah, I would, I would, so, every year, pre and even during pandemic, we always have workshop series, right? We have anything from your basic, your how to do resume and all that fun stuff, which is very important, not just saying that it's basic, but I would maybe throw in there, how, a workshop, and we have done this before too, how social media is changing the landscape of how you look for jobs, right? I did do this workshop last year that Facebook itself has a job search feature too that scarily enough takes right from your profile that you use. Imagine right now if you were going to use your Facebook profile to apply for a job. Like, I don't know, maybe I'd want to like maybe tweak some things on there, remove some things a little bit to make sure I'm putting my best foot forward. But it does exist on Facebook. It is there. So I think TikTok is great, and they're like, again, they're doing the pilot to see how this works. I would say for those that are using TikTok, that there are a lot of really good kind of vignettes and videos out there that discuss how to answer certain interview questions. There's a lot of career coaches that are out there that, give you a quick little tip of, how to do this or what you should be including. What are some good keywords to, mention in a cover letter or a resume? So I think it's good for driving that type of conversation and dialogue. But yeah, but I would tie it in totally into maybe a workshop and engage students that way, but connect it to the skills, right? When it comes down to right, it's great that you're tech savvy and you have the tech skills, but how does that, connect to your interpersonal, skills and help students understand that these aren't just skills that you need to succeed right now in your collegiate career, but beyond MSU, post MSU, right? And I think that's really the important piece to highlight. And it's
Yeah,
tough.
no, I agree. And it's crazy to see too, like how, our generation has evolved, not to mention how technology is evolving with us and how it will continue to evolve really. And TikTok is just one new thing, but new things are going to keep on popping up. So I'm sure, Jeff, you're going to have to be quick on your feet as this new stuff keeps on coming, and we're going to have to be quick on our feet trying to adapt to it as well. It's a full process. But on that note, thank you, Jeff, so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and we really value your input. And really, just thank you, Jeff. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you all. It's honestly, it's always a pleasure, and I love having the opportunity to hop on the radio and chat. So please, I'm around in the summer if you ever want me to pop back in again. You know where to find me. So thank you, everyone.
Yes, we are. This is where music stays cool on WMSC 90.3 FM. That's so much fun to say it like that. FM. We are joined by Rostafa for an interview about I said it wrong before. I like to say that, Kemet Music and Arts Festival. This is an African American heritage festival that focuses on strengthening the Black community through music and arts. Mustafa, thank you for coming on.
Montclair State University, my old alma mater. How y'all doing?
We're doing great here. At least us two are. Can't speak for all of them, but I imagine that we're all doing great. We've actually got a new president. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I heard, and I wonder if they're going to change the term Red Hawk Country in a whole different meaning at this point.
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, again, because the Red Hawk is basically named after a Native American sort of kind of like thing. And I'm
Oh,
thinking to
yeah.
myself, because when I first heard that, I'm thinking, is the bird about to die? What is going on? And next thing you know, they put out a statue, and then like that, like basically took money out of like students' like tuition, and then they had to pay more or whatever like that to a certain point, wherever the story was. And that was like right before I left. So it's insane because I feel bad for like a lot of students that come in and all of a sudden they got to pay all this extra money, and it is what it is. But again, we'll definitely make it easier for the students eventually when time does draw near.
I've got a cousin that went here and I was talking to her recently, and she said, "Ever see that statue?" I was like, "Yes, I did."
Yeah,
All right.
I could definitely tell you a lot of things about that statue.
Yes, but you are here to talk about the festival, so can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so Kemet Music and Arts Festival is a Black Heritage Festival taking place this year in Montclair, New Jersey. The original one actually happened last year in Jersey City at Berry Lane Park. This basically sort of kind of came out of everything that was happening that past year when it came to civil rights, when it came to just a lot of protesting, a lot of negativity in the media. And my whole stint on it was definitely to create a atmosphere as well as a situation where music and art can basically tell stories about what we're going through, and also at the same time be able to highlight Black entrepreneurship as well as Black local businesses at large. And me and a number of other different people from Jersey City, including an organization called Students Demand Hudson, and a number of other leaders within the civil rights movement, were able to put on a great festival day. Luckily enough, the weather was great. There were a lot of politics that went into the festival, which I don't want to get into, but put it this way, we were able to pull it off. This year, we're going to be doing it at Montclair Brewery, which is a Black-owned business. As a matter of fact, I think there's only 4 Black-owned breweries in the state of New Jersey, and there's actually maybe only 3 to 4% of that in the country.
Wow.
And yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't know that. And it's very difficult in that way to even become an owner of a brewery, let alone if you're a person of color that wants to really make a name for themselves. And Montclair Brewery had been very, very good to us in terms of allowing us to be who we want to be as people who are musicians, artists, local business people. And we just want to basically allow everybody to participate. Doesn't matter what color you are. Mainly, we just want to say we want to support the Black dollar. And the Black dollar is no different from, the Jewish community, a Asian community, or any other type of community that wants to establish that type of currency in the country. I mean, you obviously know about the Tulsa incident with, Black Wall Street from 100 years ago.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It was one of our stories. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you understand that reestablishing the Black dollar doesn't necessarily mean that it's a comfortable situation. Literally, you have to be uncomfortable. It's no different from going to church, right? Like, you take 10, 15% of your income and you put it back into your church. It's no different from doing that in your community, whether it be an all Black community or just Black businesses within a community. And this really means a lot to me because even after all the murders of, people like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and people like that, it really put the country in perspective, let alone the world in perspective, going, what's more important? Is it our material during this COVID crisis in which we're losing, or is it our own children? Is it our own family members? And this to me was a wake-up call because I wanted to get back to my roots, because from Montclair State University, I graduated from theater program, the BA program. And, one thing that, you're taught in theater is that, you give it away, but not all away. And what you want to give away is the love, the support, as well as the admiration for a community that has not only been feel oppressed and suppressed, but also the opportunity for them to tell their truth and their experiences. Now, what you don't give away, obviously, is the sense of, you know what I mean, we're going to give up, we're going to live in fear and all that stuff. And we don't do that as people of color, let alone anybody really should feel.
Right, definitely. And you said beforehand that like a lot of this came from, or a lot of this started based off of what was going on last year, what we saw around this time, all that going on. Was there any like plans to do something like this before all that happened? Before all the stuff about racial injustice? Like it's always been in the media and stuff like that, but before it became as big as it did back in 2020, was there any plans to do a festival like this for this community thing that you were discussing?
I've done actual, like, you know, music shows that were like on a smaller scale, or, you know, within a confined space. You know, coming from my theater background, you always rely on whichever building that you're in, unless you're doing like summer stock or outdoor theater. And for whatever reason, the idea came to me literally at the last minute, like special ideas do. And I wanted to basically create a Black Woodstock, if you will, but not to the point where you're basically telling other, you know, nationalities, other cultures saying that they can't come. No, they're absolutely available to participate, because the one thing that I think people misconceptualize about current civil rights is that they're just thinking when you say Black Lives Matter, you're thinking that it's only about us. And that's absolutely not true. Because, and I'll give you a perfect example. Has anybody here seen Judas and the Black Messiah?
Not that I know of, no.
I would implore you and your listeners to watch that movie, because it's, yes, there is a plight amongst Black people, but it took entire communities of different nationalities and different backgrounds in order to see the plight of what was happening in communities, not just in terms of discrimination, but also in terms of classism, sexism, and everything in between. Because at this given point in time, it's not just the one of us that's hurting, it should be all of us that should be hurting. Because if this just affects just one community and not affects all, that's not being America. That's not being, you know, a world village. Because at the end of the day, last year, which probably inspired me even more to do the festival, was the fact that the world was protesting. The world was marching. The world wanted change. And I mean, the idea that a person in Iran is praying for the family of George Floyd, the fact that the Japanese were mobilizing in a very peaceful way. I mean, again, and people say, oh, well, there were riots and everything, this and that. Well, due to fact.
You mentioned that this is supposed to help the Black-owned business, Black economy, and I'd like to know how that's been affected in the past year, since you've done this festival before. This is the second time. How did this change it after the first one?
Well, you know, it's funny, you know, when you have local businesses, especially those that we always pass by day and we don't really know too much about them. And we know we go to our favorite restaurant chains and we go to our quote unquote comfortable places. And here's the other thing too. Don't just support these businesses just because they're just Black owned. Support them because they're actually great businesses. And remember that during the pandemic, the local economy was tanking in so many different directions because of the way that there was just not as much funding, because the country, let alone the world, was not prepared for this pandemic. It was a worldwide plague. But if you really look at what was happening locally, even during the pandemic, and people were, you know, going through their turmoil, they were still supporting their businesses. They were still supporting local businesses, not just corporate entities. And particularly, especially after June, July of last year, there was a huge spike in wanting to support Black, brown, and other ethnic businesses. And it's actually been very wonderful just to see, like, you know, businesses thriving even during one of our biggest crises that we've seen pretty much in the last 100 years. And I think that this is a great opportunity to highlight certain businesses. For example, there's a business that will be there called the Artisans Pop, I believe Artisans Pop Boutique, who the lady, Louisiana, is a friend of mine, and we go back a couple years, and she is going to be having two of her businesses there. One of them is a lemonade business, and another one is an art business. And for those that normally don't go to Montclair, or people that are coming from the outside, they will experience this whole idea of optimism to support people. I think, honest to God, human nature wants to help other people when everything in terms of ego and in terms of, me is exited out the door. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about you. It's about us. And it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with, all these distractions. It all has to do with faith.
Right.
It does. It does at the end of the day. You're right.
Definitely. And now, can you tell us more about the music project itself that this fundraiser is going to?
Yes. So last year, I was on a marketing campaign for an album that was dedicated to the Black community. And I use every type of platform and fundraiser to do it in every sense. And I think at the time, it was just so fresh in people's minds that they did not really know how to really conceptualize that, wait a minute, this brother and many other different Black artists are going to be doing an album, and we don't really know. And just to give people context, I've been within the Essex County, Montclair, West Orange communities for pretty much most of my life, and I've always given back, and I've always liked to have this idea of, well, it's not just about what you gain, but it's also about what others gain as well. So the concept became that once the album would be reached in terms of its goal of finances going into the studio for production, for distribution, and everything that goes in between, that a quarter of those proceeds should go back into a Black business that's in need. I'm actually a huge advocate for the mental health side of things. Me growing up with a lot of battles and head games, and like most people do, especially even now, but particularly in the Black community, there's just so much trauma and so much disparity in various ways that belief systems sort of kind of alter depending on who you talk to. And this project in itself would be, first of all, honoring the Black community and its culture, not just through the songs, but really through the message. The message is what's important. And basically that this fundraiser, once is completed, we would go in the studio. I would want to try to get this done by February of next year. I really wish I would have got it done this year if I had the funds. But but coming up next year during Black History Month, I would believe that this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. And also, again, for those that are going to be at the festival, you're not only going to be contributing to the fundraiser itself, but what you're also contributing are all the bands, all the vendors, including Montclair Brewery, and just reestablishing, like I said before, the Black dollar, in order to understand that it's not just about me and what I'm doing. It's really about what we're all doing to support each other.
Yeah, you could be just sending all the money off to some fundraiser that is dedicated to helping Black communities, but this is helping send out a message, like you said. This is getting the word out, which at the end of the day is the most important thing. At least I'd imagine that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's the most important thing. So, if anybody who is listening right now is interested in going to the festival, what do you think they should know?
That you should be expecting some of the best musicality, ranging across from funk to R&B to rock to blues to jazz, basically Black inventions from this country. You should also expect some of the best food all around in Montclair that have been chosen for this event. Cilantro tacos, which again, amazing truck.
You say
Little hot.
tacos?
Oh yeah, brother.
I'm coming.
Oh yeah. We also have a little hot dog wagon. We have, like I said, artisans boutique. There's going to be a number of also different painters. So if there's anybody who's itching to get some art in their house and definitely kind of light up the room, there's actually going to be room for that. And a number of other different entities. We're also going to have raffle offs, because I also believe in giving back also just in the little things. We may have some t-shirt raffles. We may have some merchandise. We also will have maybe some gift cards going out to some of these lucky patrons who want to, like, invest, like I said, going into a business and checking it out for the first time. So there's all these different things happening all at once. And also, mind you, that even if somebody is out of state and they can't be there physically, they can watch online via live stream at Kemet Fest, KEMETFEST, on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And real quick before we have to wrap up, but when for anybody who is interested in going in person, because like you said, it's also available via live stream, when and where is it, and how can they get access?
Okay, so it's going to be at Montclair Brewery, which is at 101 Walnut Street, Montclair, New Jersey, 07042. And the way that you can get tickets is at KemetFest2.eventbrite.com, or you can call or text the number 201-463-9363 for tickets.
Once again, thank you, Mustafa, for coming in with us. We hope all the best with the festival, and we really admire all the work that you're doing for Black communities.
So, in America, according to NJ.com, it is too soon to say if Americans might need a vaccine booster. Although a possibility in the near future, it is too soon for the government to recommend getting a booster shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. Last week, Dr. Anthony Fauci denied Pfizer's claims for a booster shot within the next year, saying it was not necessary at the current time, as research and studies have not shown a need for an additional shot for either the Pfizer, Moderna, or even the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So for Pfizer and Moderna, no third shot is needed, and then for Johnson & Johnson, no second shot would be needed at this time. However, he also said the booster shots may be encouraged in the coming months based on a person's age and underlying medical conditions. The U.S. currently stands at 48% of adults fully vaccinated, with some areas having lower vaccination rates than others. Additionally, the government is working on employing tactics to make vaccines more accessible, such as the door-to-door outreach program suggested by Biden. However, there are mixed opinions over this program. Asa Hutchinson, governor of Arkansas, said, quote, "No one wants an agent knocking on their door, but we do want those that do not have access otherwise to make sure they know about it," end quote. On the other hand, Illinois Representative Adam Kinzinger opposed the idea, calling for House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy of California and others to voice their disagreement with, quote, "these absolute clown politicians playing on your vaccine fears for their own selfish game," end quote. So, what do you think? Because although not immediate, Dr. Fauci had still said it is possible that a third or second dose, depending on which one you got, of the vaccine may be possible in the coming months.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I could have sworn I heard this like a few months ago as well. But for the Pfizer vaccine, that people will need like a third one for the Pfizer one. But if anything, I think that would be the case, that the Pfizer would need a third one rather than like the Johnson & Johnson or the Moderna.
Right. In other words, so the third shot might be possible, and I don't think many people who are vaccinated. Well, let me ask you that. Do you think people who are fully vaccinated would be opposed to this idea or for it, considering if a third shot is needed, they technically would lose that title of fully vaccinated?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be very mixed. Even like with people that are vaccinated,
Right.
there's going to be like, it's going to be like half and half. People are just going to be like, all right, let me get the third one. And then there's going to be vaccinated people that'll be like, all right, this is enough. Like they'll think that the 2 is enough, all that. But yeah, I just think it's going to be very mixed. I can't really tell as of right now, but like, that's what I feel.
That is true. And you're right. Even a few weeks ago, before we were almost 50% fully vaccinated, like we had people saying, "Oh, one dose is enough for me," and they were talking about 1 dose of Pfizer or Moderna, not Johnson & Johnson, which stands at 1 dose. They were talking about the 2-shot ones. They're like, "I'm good enough with 1 dose for now. I don't need it." And that was also because of they had trouble finding it. We saw, I forget if it was Walgreens or Walmart. It was one of the walls, but they were running into issues where if somebody got the Pfizer
when they went in for their second shot, they only had Moderna, and according to science, you can't do that, or it's not recommended that you do that. So a lot of people just gave up trying to search for a second dose. And so I wonder if we'll run into a similar problem here, because they're also talking about the door-to-door outreach program, in which people will literally show up at your house and ask about the vaccine. And this is nothing new. This has been in the works since like April, when vaccinations or available vaccines were outpacing the need for them. So it's very interesting to see if we'll run into this per store shortage that we saw a few months ago with the whole, oh, I only need one because I don't have access to a second dose of the same vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that'll definitely happen because people. I mean, there's gonna be people that aren't gonna go like all over just to find like that next vaccine shot. But I think for Johnson and Johnson as well, for the people that got the Johnson and Johnson, I'm sure there's a good amount of them that got it, so then they don't have to go for a second shot.
Right.
Which I'm sure that's a lot of them, but. I mean, if there were a booster shot for the Johnson and Johnson, there'd definitely be there wouldn't be a lot of people that would want that just because they wanted only that one shot and that's it. And they're going to be like, oh, another shot. That's not what I like signed up for, whatever.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless, I feel like people always want to have something to complain about. I feel like this is kind of one of those things that, when people give you a like tip or recommendation or advice, it's like take what you need and leave the rest, right? Like, I think it's like the same concept here. Like if you need it, well, look at that. Someone is knocking at your door, you're gonna get information. Honestly, 99% of the times I don't even open my door when people knock on it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It could very easy situation for everyone, right? Like I feel like sometimes people are just so ready to be like go on the contrary of what certain someone is saying, right? Or like a political figure, whatever the case may be, right? In this case, the Biden administration. So I just feel like take what you need and the rest just leave it. It's okay if it doesn't work for you, fine. Just maybe for someone else it will. Yeah. So I just feel like I had to point that out because it really annoys me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm very skeptical about how like successful this outreach program might be, because like I myself, I barely even open the door for people I know, much less somebody from the government. And I don't know the exact number of how many houses have the Nest or the other one that has the camera as the doorbell, where you can literally see who's outside. But I think with something like that, I think a lot less people are going to open their doors to this, because most people can now see who's outside before they even go to the door. Most people don't like answering the door to begin with because of like solicitors. Like we just got visited by a solar panel, somebody who was trying to sell solar panels, and nobody wants to get involved in those conversations. So like you do your best to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't like, because the people that will come to your door, they'll go on and they'll try to like sell you into it and whatever. And so it's like for the vaccine, especially people that already know that information or are just like against the vaccine, they're definitely not going to want to open their doors, even if they don't know who it is. But like, if you see somebody with papers in front of your door and you don't know who it is, you're not going to answer,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the vaccine stuff and the booster stuff, I remember talking to my mother about it. It was like probably like 3 weeks ago. I had my vaccine card with me, and I asked her like if I should get laminated. She was like, "Oh no, you might possibly have to get a third shot." I'm like, "What?" And we were just talking about it, and fully vaccinated people. It was. I get it was supposed to be like 2 shots to be fully vaccinated, but to have that like extra shot, I'm just not sure, because like, it's kind of like confusing, because now if you were to get the third shot, you won't be considered fully vaccinated, and now with stuff opening up, it's gonna be very more like difficult to be like considered who's fully vaccinated, who's fully unvaccinated and
Right.
stuff. So it's really gonna be like difficult to see if Dr. Fauci is going to pull a plug and say you have to get this third shot. And also, like you said with the Pfizer and the Moderna thing, that happened in my situation. I had the Moderna, and I went over to the Meadowlands, and my mother thought they had the Moderna, but they only had the Pfizer. So I had to walk out of the building without my second shot. So, like you said, the Walgreens or the CVS's, like they had those like areas with vaccines and stuff. But
Right.
I mean, when like Crystal said too, anything can change in an instant, in 24 hours, or even less than 24 hours.
That
They say
is
one
true.
thing, they say another thing. So I guess we still have to follow the rules and make sure that we keep everyone safe, of course.
Right.
So.
And I do wonder because the wording the article used was Fauci said shots would be encouraged based on your age and underlying medical condition. So I wonder if it will ever be a booster shot will ever be mandatory, or if it's just going to sit at the encouraged state, encouraged for people who are higher risk per se. And if you're not at higher risk, like, most people our age, maybe a little older, but like those people, they don't have to get it if they don't want to, but if they want to get it, they're fully open to.
So, in April of 2021, New Jersey Middle School Vice Principal Michael Smurrow was put on leave without pay due to an accusation of him discriminating a transgender woman in a grotesque manner with his wife at an outdoor restaurant. Smurrow was apparently recording his wife slurring at the transgender woman in the restroom and threw a cup filled with beer to the people who were defending the transgender woman in the restroom. It was said by the Associated Press that the civil suit against Smurrow is inconclusive because those who filed it didn't suffer any harm. Details from NewJersey.com state that Smurrow is suing those who are suing his wife and himself for defamation, as he claims he never said anything about transgender issues. Another important detail from NewJersey.com is that Smurrow claims his reputation has been ruined, as the Neptune School administration received 80 voicemail messages demanding disciplinary actions against him. Now, I personally think this is insane. The fact that he is suing for defamation, like he was still part of going against a transgender woman and discriminating against her. So I find that really messed up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I completely agree. And for me, actions speak so much louder than words. Like here he was throwing beer at the people who were defending her. And he's like, oh, he feels like his reputation is ruined. Like, yes, it's ruined. Obviously, it's ruined. What kind of human being thinks that's okay and that they can get away with that kind of stuff? And now that he's trying to sue the people who are suing him, I'm sorry, but like, who do you think you are? Like, you don't rule the world. You are not like in charge of all of us. I don't know why you think this is okay, because it's not okay.
I feel I don't understand why people think it's right to discriminate in the first place, no matter who it is, whether it's race, whether it's gender, whether it's personal option, even what someone wears. I feel it's rude. Like if someone has a contrasting opinion, you could keep it to yourself. You don't have to be rude to a person and make them feel uncomfortable in a public setting. Like it's a free country for us. Like we could, in a way, do what we like. And yeah, I completely agree with you. This is completely rude, and I feel that right now this man trying to sue the people who are suing him, that is just complete. I feel it's this heightened unhealthy pride trying to just keep his ego like on a platform, just to say like, oh, but I'm still like this. I really dislike when people try to place themselves above others, especially when they do rude things or try to belittle other people. It's just completely rude, and it just proves how of a little person they are.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy to think that even, like the article said, the civil suit is groundless, as the people filing it were not harmed. It may be frowned upon, but it does not have the right. But he does have the right to express his opinions in a public place, no matter how controversial it is. And that's the scariest. I mean, it's like, yes, like you want like freedom of speech and you want to be able to express your opinion, but like still to morally think that this is okay, that's what shocks me. Like why does he think this is okay?
I'm just processing, like, so while I read that too, I was still perplexed because I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that he's able to sue these people, but the people are probably going to lose their battle in court. And it's just sad because you're telling me, okay, if I go back to that moment, I can throw beer at him or anything else at him. Like if it doesn't show physical harm, apparently that's okay.
Yeah.
I find that so sad. Like, you're telling me the guy gets away with it, and on top of that, he's complaining about how people are viewing this. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
it's insane. And to think that this is a middle school principal, and I feel like as a principal, you are in charge of setting the example for all these young students, and especially at that age while you're in middle school, you are so susceptible to, being influenced by people, and you're really like looking up to adults, or at least from my personal experience during that age, like you're trying to see who you're going to turn out to be, and just to have this principal set this quote unquote example for all these kids is quite disturbing in my opinion. And I can't believe he's like worried about his reputation being ruined, because in my head it's so crystal clear that obviously things are not going to be the same for you.
What I find funny is that apparently the administration received 80 voicemail messages, and it happened 3 days after the event occurred. So, it's just the way that that spread around. I was actually satisfied with that part, but I found it funny that it was 80 people that were asking for something to be done against him, disciplinary actions and stuff. And it's still not, I don't know. I really do wonder what's going to happen with this, and I hope it's not, what we're all thinking may happen, which is nothing essentially, and him getting away with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I hope that won't happen because what I've come to know is when people do something like this and they kind of maintain this pride, like he just goes back and tries to sue them, like there's going to be more situations where this man I feel is going to face these situations, whether to discriminate or not, or seeing more people like this. And he's more likely inclined to do it again. And when he does do it again, people will catch him again and again. Because that's the type of character often these proud people maintain. These people who think that, oh, they have a right to just be rude to whoever they want because they're so high and mighty. So I feel that it's most likely going to follow him and follow his reputation. And if not that, then there's going to be a group of people now against him. And I feel that the parents of the students and the students themselves, who now, well, we all have access to the internet, social media, news, could become aware of this. And finding out that your own principal did something like this, there's going to be some sort of heightened action against that, or at least awareness. Like if I were going to the school in this middle school, I would be looking at this man completely different, and I wouldn't have the same respect as I would if I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Would you Oh, sorry, Sabrina, continue.
You could ask your question.
I was gonna say, would you guys be okay with this if you guys had children, or if your little sister or cousin went to that school and the vice principal just would do that in his spare time, right? Go to the school, act like nothing happened, and would you be okay with that type of person being around whoever you care about?
Most definitely not. If you're asking, like, would you remove your child from the school district, though, that's a hard question just because I assume in this type of situation, or at least I hope, in my opinion, that, he gets fired or removed from this position, straight off the bat. But it's hard to say whether or not I would want my kid to be removed just because even though there might be a terrible vice principal, there might be some fantastic teachers there. And it's like I would hate to like remove my child. And also when you change schools too, like I don't know if I want my kid to go through that. It's just like such a hard decision. But like at the same token, like I wouldn't want my kid to be around someone who thinks that's okay to do. So it's a hard question.
You know what I would do in that case, because this man, I'm surprised he acted the way he did. If let's say I was a parent, or if I was like an older, a guardian of a younger child that went to the school, or like a middle schooler, a younger sister, cousin, I would personally go to that man, have a private meeting with him when he has a chance, and say that I heard what you did. I am uncomfortable with my child or whoever I'm taking care of going to the school. What should I do? I don't feel comfortable with someone who's discriminatory and who's most likely going to do something rude like this in the future. Tell me, what should I do? I can't just remove my child. I'm going to bring the problem back to him and tell him from my perspective. How would you feel if this would happen to you, basically?
Yeah,
Wow,
no.
Isa, I really want to be you when I grow up. Oh my God. And everything she says, she's so brave.
I know.
Thank you.
He is. And it's like also imagine those students who go to that school who are part of the LGBTQ community. Imagine how they feel. Imagine the teachers who are like, wow, this man who I essentially work for thinks this is okay to do. And I know we talked about how the administration received like 80 voicemail messages demanding, disciplinary actions against him, but I feel like there's so much more probably. Imagine all the emails, imagine all the petitions going out. Like I definitely feel like they mentioned the 80 voicemail messages, but there has to be more because I feel like so many people in our day and age are so passionate about this kind of stuff and they don't want this type of situation to fly.
And go ahead, Daji.
I was gonna say what's interesting is you can have your child or anybody like close to you, young and stuff, um in a school, and you don't know what is happening in the teachers' lives. So it's pretty interesting. Like I know of a case in January when said situation happened in Washington D.C. One of a teacher, I believe she was from New Jersey, I may be wrong, but she was in that riot and in that situation. And when the school found out, a lot of parents didn't feel comfortable with their children being in the same school as her, like taking her class and stuff. And it's interesting because this we do know, but there are a lot of cases we don't know. So it's a little scary to think about.
Yeah.
You know, and what I also wanted to add for this, because many people say it's unfair how he's not getting the type of punishment that many people would see right fit for this situation. I feel punishment or no punishment doesn't really matter. I feel it's the reputation that will affect him for a lifetime, because policies, laws always change, and sometimes they're ethical, sometimes they're unethical, but oftentimes the public doesn't really have much of an influence as much as we want. So even if he does get actually punished as we like or not, I feel this reputation will haunt him and will follow him, and it's the people who will give him the real punishment. Because if someone like this does something, they're going to remind him that he will not get away with this. Like people, like you guys said, sent out petitions, emails, protests, maybe people are gonna like these voicemails too, and people at the school just having that reputation on you. I feel that's the biggest shame and punishment that one can have. That's even, I feel it surpasses any fine that one could pay and like privately deal with the situation. This is like a public issue, so I feel that the real punishment will be the way that people treat him after this.
Our next story, our last story for the day. We're coming back a little bit domestic. We're not in Garden State, but we're in New Jersey. Wow, New York. That's the one. New York.
That's
We're in New
popular.
York. They have. You ever? Okay, I got a question for you too. You ever read those things when you were younger, even just recently, about the weird laws?
Yeah, like there's like dumblaws.com and other websites you can go on.
Dumblaws.com.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I know there's something about like elephants in New Orleans or something like that. There's some weird
Yeah.
stuff. There's some super weird stuff. Well, rarely you hear about these things actually being solved because they are so odd that they
Who
actually
listen?
are rarely, what's the word, infringed upon.
Enforced. Yeah.
Enforced. Yeah, they're so rare that they barely even happen. This one is actually a little bit more common. But New York has changed one of their crazy laws. And haircuts. You can now get a haircut on Sundays.
Huh?
You can get a haircut on Sunday, guys. That's right. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, he signed legislation Tuesday to get rid of a, quote, archaic law that banned barbers from working on Sundays. He said in a tweet, quote, an archaic law that made it a misdemeanor to cut hairs on Sunday has been shaved from the books. He really had to say shaved from the books? Really? Though it was rarely enforced, the law was sheer madness. When we're not, and they're not feeling bad to see it go. It's not.
Why?
Wow. In this tweet, he made so many haircut puns. Wow.
Yeah.
Multiple barbers in the state said they had no idea this law ever even existed. That's my favorite part.
Cutting here on Sundays
By removing
continuously, though.
By removing unnecessary laws like this, businesses are now it'll be provided with additional opportunities to recover financially as we're trying to rebuild our economies. All right.
Time out. Wait, time out.
Article. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Cam.
How do you change something that people didn't even know about? Like, what's the point of having that? You need to tell me that.
Well, apparently the article says that this actually was a problem for some barbers because I don't know how this even gets reported, but there were barbers giving haircuts on Sundays who weren't even aware that it was illegal to do so.
Actually, that would explain a lot then, actually.
Yeah. I mean, apparently, yeah, it would explain a lot. But even then, who's going to be the person to be like, you just gave me a haircut. I'm going to get you a misdemeanor now.
Like, who? Karen. Karen would do that. Karen would do that.
It circles back. Imagine on your police record, it says, like, it says you have a misdemeanor against you, okay? Cop looks at it. It just says, give a haircut on a Sunday.
If a cop saw that, I guarantee you'll start laughing.
I know. And like, what? How do you just... So many questions from this.
See, if I was the cop and I saw that, I would ask for a haircut. I would ask for a haircut.
Yeah, that's funny. But here's the thing. Now I'm wondering, like, what are the next, like, weird laws to go? Maybe this is just I don't know even the word, but like maybe this is a good start for getting rid of some other stuff. Like in Alabama, I just looked this up right now. Apparently, it's illegal to drive blindfolded. I mean that should be a law. It should be a law. So like Alaska, you can't put an animal in the back of an open vehicle. In Arizona, it's illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub.
They can sleep on the floor, just not in a bathtub.
Oh yeah, of course. Duh. Arkansas, you can't honk your horn near a sandwich shop specifically after 9 p.m.
8:59. Beep beep.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I find funny about all these. Okay. This means that somebody did it.
Jersey, it is illegal to frown at a police officer.
This means that somebody has done it, right? If they have to make it illegal, right?
Yo, yes.
It's a huge First Amendment violation, but yeah.
And this is my favorite one that I've seen. In Connecticut, a pickle has to be required to be able to bounce.
What?
What in?
Like bouncing around like it's Brock Lesnar.
Maybe.
What is Jersey's law? What is Jersey's law?
All right, I'll find that before we wrap up here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. The New Jersey law that we have is that, wow, bulletproof vests are banned while committing a crime.
There's no way, bro. There is no way.
I think the crime itself would be reason on that. Oh, that is a great place to end it.
Bulletproof vest on now.